This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to The Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast. Since 2015, I am here in the very fine studios of Pod Populi, Podcast for the People. I'm at the one in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it is the full Scottsdazzle going on right now. People always ask, like, what do you like? You travel around a lot. What's your favorite place? Scottsdale. Scottsdale wins. However, not if you're talking about dating. Scottsdale is one of the worst places. Why do I bring that up? Well, today we're doing a little spin on our annual tradition. I've been teasing this for about a month now, and you guys have been sending me all kinds of things. Normally, when we put out our list of the 10 worst cities in America in which to find love, I calculate and crunch the numbers, and our Great Love Debate team really gets into it, and we spend a lot of time figuring out the 1 through 10. I'm not doing that this year. This year, I decided to let the listeners make the list. So I asked for some submissions from you guys, and some of them, you need to move. Like, you're the problem in the city. It is not the city. But some of these, I'm like, I had to think about it. So I didn't want to do this by myself. I brought in some people who are so well traveled, they are cruising around in, what is that? What is that thing called?
That's a GMC Savannah 1-ton. Lifted.
They
with
look
the
like they're
Quigley
going
conversion.
city to city. He has been on this show a couple times before, not in a while. How not in a while? He was a single man last time he was on this show. He is one of the gurus behind the Flow Event Group, which means if you want to shoot anything from a movie to get a picture of this nice studio that I hopefully he took, he can do it all. Rick Jamitro and his lovely bride, who also is a creative type. She hasn't been on this podcast before. I don't know if she knows what she's getting into. Jenny, how are you?
I'm good. I'm ready for it.
Oh, she's ready for it. You guys travel a lot.
Yeah.
What's the most exotic place you've been outside of the country? Have you done the Ibiza thing?
We've done, we did Bali for a month.
Yeah.
And everywhere in Europe.
I feel like it's a toss-up between Bali and Hong Kong.
Oh, Hong Kong. Yeah, I've been to Hong Kong. How long were you dating before you took a trip together?
A month.
A month.
Yeah.
Did that bring you closer together, or are you like, we have got to work some things out here?
Oh, it was a little insane. We knew each other for about 2 weeks, and he said, "Hey, do you want to come to Florida and meet my mom?" Sure, why not?
And happily ever.
Well, I was
That's
already
got as good a shot to do as anything.
I was already going. I was like, you should join.
Okay. All right. So we are, there are 10. You guys sent us 247 different cities. Some of them were sold multiple times. Some of them I just flat out said, like, no, that's just not right. Or you didn't make a strong enough case as to why it sucks, other than you went out with one guy and you blamed the whole city. We don't want to have that. So we picked 10. They're in no particular order. I'm going to read the email that you guys sent us. And like I said, some of these are representative of a city that a lot of other people did. I tried to pick the one that made the case of why this is the worst city in America. And then me and Rick and Jenny are going to say if we think you're right, think you're wrong, or we've never been there. Well, I mean, I've been to all 10 of these. I don't know if you guys have. One I know you have definitely been to, but we will get into that. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first one is from Carrie. Karrie, not Kerry. You go a lot of ways with Carrie. Keri, a lot of choices. Okay. I know you're going to laugh at me, but honestly, Chicago is the worst. Yeah, there's a lot to do, but people are far more focused on staying warm for 7 months and then getting shit-faced the rest of the time that nobody cares about being in a real relationship. I have lived here almost 7 years and have never had a relationship that lasted beyond the first spring thaw, which is June, by the way. Okay. My first instinct, because this happens once in a while at our live show, somebody brings up Chicago's the worst. But I had to think about this. So the people in Chicago are fun. There's more to do there and everything. There's a case to be made that the cities in which there are so many things to do and are so fun, Austin, Nashville, Chicago, that people don't necessarily want to get off the ride and get into a relationship because the relationship seems boring compared to everything going on in Chicago. Is there a case to be made for that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, that's the New York thing as well. That's why it takes so long for them to settle down.
Yeah, the New York thing so, but New York isn't quite as communally fun. A lot of people in New York are absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
We may or may not get to New York in a second. But most of the time, from that first spring day when it's 48 degrees and people are outside playing softball, guys and girls do things together in Chicago. It's a really fun place for that time. Like I said, so is Austin, so is Nashville. There's places like that. I think that rather than just dismiss her, I wanted to think about this. Does that make it harder to get into a relationship? There is cuffing season and everybody locks down and all that kind of stuff. But then it's like, if I'm getting out of singlehood, then it's possibly, no offense to you guys, marriage, kids, move to the suburbs, and then I can't do the Chicago fun thing anymore. And Chicago goes happy hour 5 o'clock till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
That is a long slog of fun.
That's true.
But, have you been to Austin?
Oh, yeah. Many times.
Yeah, we do a lot of, we used to do a lot of shows there, but then it was just like, people are like, yeah, why would I get in a relationship? This is just a big pile of fun.
Yeah. The big cities, it comes down to when they want to stop having fun a lot of the times.
Yeah, but a lot of big cities, which we'll get in a minute, the relationship is fun because there isn't so much to it, or it's a hassle to do those fun things. Chicago, on its best day, if the weather is the same everywhere for one day, 70 degrees everywhere in America for one day, Chicago wins.
Yeah, well, we've had clients specifically, like one good story is that we'll call them the pretty girls who are looking for the husband and they're going to find it.
Yeah.
They came in and they told us all and they're like, he needs to make about $500,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
And, this is what I want out of the guy. And she went on 7 dates, married the guy all over. And that story is a dime a dozen.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Chicago.
Don't get me wrong, those girls kind of annoy me.
So this came from a woman. If you're a guy in Chicago, the best thing about Chicago is you can be a big fat guy and still date a hot chick in Chicago. They don't seem to care. No. It's if you're fun and you have a job and whatever. So I'm never going to admit that Chicago is a bad city for the dudes. It might be. I'm not going to say it's one of the 10 worst. She made the case.
From my perspective, I think a part of it is people are so focused on finding their dating app and then they go on that date, but it's also hush hush. They're not going out and doing the fun things. So it's like dating on one side is over here, and then you're going over and doing the fun things instead of just doing the fun things with the person.
Right. That's a good point. And I look at being in a relationship in Chicago as sort of like having a girlfriend or a boyfriend in college. Like you might have done it, but it was only so serious and it was mostly because you hooked up a few times and it's like, I guess we're dating and I fed you chicken fingers and I guess you're my girlfriend, but it's still college and it's still game on. Yeah. I think that's the case. So Carrie, I appreciate it. We did get more than one for Chicago. I think you're wrong, but the fun cities do a little bit stand in the way of settling down, although they are good things to do. If you want to go on a date, there's a million things to do in Chicago. So I'm not going to quite grant you it's one of the 10 worst, but you did make it because you made a case. Okay, the second one, you guys might be a little more familiar with this. This is from Catherine. You want to guess the spelling on Catherine?
Catherine.
Starts with a K.
Starts with a C, but with a Y.
Oh.
Ah.
With the RYN.
Yes. The C and the R and the Y are not normal combo.
No.
Yeah. Okay, Catherine. I was transferred to Minneapolis 8 months ago, and I have never been around a more miserable group of weirdos and freaks in my life. You can't understand a word they say. They all seem like they're related. They're all a bunch of Game of Thrones rejects with no social skills. I got asked on a date to go ice fishing. That's not a date, and this is not a good place for dating. I'm sorry. All right, Minnesotans. I like Minneapolis, and I've always made the case that Minneapolis is one of the best places because if you like pretty blondes and tall men,
yeah, there's a lot of them.
That's where they are, right? Pretty blonde.
I just want to know where she landed. Where I bet it's there, but where on earth is this?
Jenny and I have never been ice fishing together, and we live in a lake.
True.
Oh, you do, but you have ice fished.
If other people have it, maybe we'll take the snowmobile by and visit, that type of thing.
Yeah. There's a lot to do in Minneapolis. Here's the case. I'm going to back up some of these cases. You're obviously familiar with Minnesota Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota is very, very skeptical to the point of being rude to outsiders. They do not take new people well. It's a little bit, what do you do? So the Minnesota nice is like, I'll say hi to you. You can come over to my house, but you cannot come in my house. You can borrow something. It's very, very surface bullshit nice. I will say that. So if you're not in the right, it's also very cliquey.
Yeah.
If you're not in the right clique social scene, she's only been there 8 months. It is a hard nut to crack. The weather, though, in Minneapolis is not nearly as bad as, say, Chicago, because they have the heater thing figured out. There's heaters and tunnels and all kinds of things. But like I said, all the women in no matter where we go, they complain there's lack of tall guys. Every guy in Minnesota is, no offense, not you. They're like course. Paul Bunyan there.
It's true. I was the only guy, like everyone was 6'5", and I'm sitting there at 5'9".
Hear that, guys? 5'9". He's got himself a wife. There you go. But there's a lot of good-looking girls in Minneapolis. There just are. If that's your thing, if that's your type. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for a Latina, you're probably not going to find her in Minneapolis. If you're looking for somebody who looks like Taylor Swift, you're probably going to find her in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. So, thoughts? Did you grow up there?
I did.
And?
Well, the caveat is I was homeschooled.
Oh, jeez.
So making friends there was even...
So you were homeschooled back in the day before people did it, really?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. And then I moved out of state and then came back. So yes, I grew up there, transplanted-ish.
Yeah.
Amazing when you go out of state for a couple of years, coming back, nobody still wants to talk to you.
Was it hard to date back in your swinging single days?
You just go to the things.
You go to the things. You just find the things. What does that even mean, go to the things?
It means you find something interesting to go to and you just show up. That's how you're going to make friends and get to know people that aren't just Game of Thrones junkies.
Yeah, I know. Or no, she's more like Jamie Jones because they're all Viking people.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think... There's a lot to do in Minneapolis. It's fun. I'm not going to necessarily grant you that is, but... It is very standoffish to outsiders, which you apparently are. She has to with a C and a Y.
She has to break through the cliques. Like we have,
and
volleyball teams, kickball teams.
That's what you do. You get into networking groups, social groups,
for sure, because they're big into that.
Do you try and find other people who have come from other places?
And you'll find that for sure.
Because there's a lot of
the cliques move to the burbs.
Fortune 500 companies in Minneapolis, so there are a lot of people who come from other places and you're going to have to assimilate with them, if only to bitch about the local Minnesotans.
Yeah. In the summer will be a lot easier. I mean, that's when the city bumps.
And there's a big lake scene in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. She's got to go all over Minnetonka, all the different breweries and block parties that go on. And, the rooftops are going in the summer. It's got to be hard in the winter, though. That's why they go online, which is a different unfortunate.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. The next one is, we have a dude here. This is from Douglas. I've listened to this show for years, and I honestly think you give Los Angeles too much of a pass. It's the worst. It's overpriced, full of traffic, no real social scene. Everyone leaves for Vegas on the weekend because there's nothing to do, and nobody's committed to this place long enough that you can trust getting into a relationship with them. Yes, there are beautiful women here, but none of them are going to date me, so that doesn't really help my situation or the situation 95% of the men here. Okay, as somebody who has lived in Los Angeles for most of the last 20 years, I get it. And I do give it a little bit of a pass because a city like Los Angeles, 3,000 people move there every day. It is constantly churning the pool over. Is there a traffic situation? Are people lazy? Oh, I live in Burbank. Oh, you live in Manhattan Beach. We can't go out. That's the case with a lot of people. You're right. Surprisingly, for a big city and for Los Angeles, there isn't a lot to do that is unique to Los Angeles. There's things in Los Angeles that you can find everywhere. To the point where I've had people come to visit me in Los Angeles or say, I'm going to be in LA for 2 days. What should I do? I don't have an answer to that question. There isn't a real answer like, oh, you're in LA for 10 days. You got to see this. You got to do this. If you throw out the obvious stuff, like there's a version of Rodeo Drive in every city. The Walk of Fame is gross, and you want to go to the Santa Monica Pier? There isn't necessarily a lot of things that drive the social scene. He is right about the people going to Las Vegas. If you go to a restaurant or a bar, everybody's looking at the door and not talking to each other because they want to see who comes in. It isn't great, and I do give it a pass because the quality of life, if you're in there, it's awesome. It's LA, and it's, sunny, and it's lovely. It's kind of like here.
I think the people want to know if you had success dating there, though. I feel like you did. That's probably why.
I'm different because I'm very charming, and I had a very good job. Like, you're producer, director, you have your pick. You do. For the other 95% of the dudes, if you're not in that business where you have access to that pool, if you're not just like, sure, I'll go to the Playboy Mansion. If you're not that, it is hard. And I get it. And there's a certain, percentage of the population that are, I'll use the word upwardly mobile, these girls they're looking for. And they're probably not going to date a lot of the guys. So for 95% of the guys, it probably is hard. Probably hard for me if I had to do it now. But I see what you're saying. I do give it a pass. It's always in the top 10 of the worst cities. The biggest reason I put it in there is just like where we are right here. When the weather is nice, you can have a pretty nice day without having to sit across from somebody you don't know for 45 minutes on a date. You can not, the incentive to date when it's like, I can go to yoga, I can walk the dog, I can have a glass of wine, I can walk on the beach. You don't necessarily want to date. The incentive is not great to date, right?
And you have to date in certain networks. Like, you want to like the people who work in hospitals. You don't really want to be on the scene, the LA scene people, because that's always going to be looking for the best.
Yeah, I know. You want to, but even the scene, like, it's a lunch town, LA, traditionally. It's not even, there aren't really great clubs. The bar scene's not great. So people that go to lunch, that's not a great dating thing. Lunch is not necessarily romantic.
No, not in any world.
No, not in any world. So
you want the sun to set.
Yeah, you want the sun to set. So Douglas, you're right. And I don't give Los Angeles a pass because it's always been in the top 10 of the worst. As I've said on the show, people in LA won't go 25 miles to go on a date with somebody, but they'll go 25 miles to get a deal on a desk at IKEA. It's all about priorities. People are very lazy daters in both LA and San Diego and Orange County, that whole Southern California. It's a lazy pool of daters, which is not good. So it's not the worst, but it is definitely in the bottom 10.
And a lot of my friends who go to LA, if they were going there with relationships, they break up there. It's happened a lot.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because they're like, oh, who's that?
I think the world opens up to them. I think their small town, big town moment happens.
Well, that's why. It's like when the Bachelor almost never marries the girl on the show because he has a choice of 25 when he's on The Bachelor. When the taping ends, he's got a choice of 25,000. So
I know, and I have two Bachelorette girls like phone numbers in my phone. One was a Minnesota gal, and I didn't even know. I'm like, oh, I know that girl, and I'm like, oh, she's 1 million followers now, and is on that reality TV show I've never watched.
Yeah, that's good. So he's still allowed to have Bachelorette contestants in his phone.
Oh, heck yeah!
Good. That's a strong.
Works out for me.
She fosters friendships.
There you go. Yeah, you're like, he's not leaving me. All right, next one. This is another dude. This is from Benny. Brian, I know you're a fan of Dallas, but Dallas has a bunch of stuck-up women, religious freaks, wannabe cowgirls, and basically a population who is always looking for the next best thing, which apparently I am not. I am not originally from here, but I've lived here long enough to know one thing: it sucks. Now, I have named Dallas as the most dateable pool of women in America on more than one occasion. I stand by that. They are fun. They're big personality, big hair, big everything. And the guys do not step up. They are all no cattle there in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And I get these emails a lot about people bitching about Dallas, Fort Worth, the whole Metroplex, as they call it down there. You're wrong. Dallas, all of Texas really does have a fun vibe. If the women are not into you, you need to step it up, Benny. Get your shit together, Benny. You're not going to, this one will never make the list. Dallas will never make the list because the women, they're not, how do I say this without getting in trouble in 2023? The girls in Dallas still believe they're girls. And they still want to be girls. And they still want to be treated like girls. And they want to act like girls. And they want that. You're never going to go wrong with that pool. If you were in a place where, I won't name any names till later on the list, where that's not the vibe, that does make it easier to date. The traditional gender roles still exist in Dallas, Texas. Sorry if that offends anybody. It does make it easier to date.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to ask you out. You're going to come. I'm going to pay. We're going to make out in the car. Good.
Yeah, and these women are either they're looking for someone who is going to challenge them and step up, or just someone who's going to roll over and then treat them like queens.
You're right. The Dallas women want you to step up. They do not put the bar out of reach.
No.
The bar is not too high. It is an attainable bar, and if you cannot get your act together and learn some social skills and maybe take up guitar lessons or find a way to make yourself appealing, oh well.
Without knowing this guy, I mean, the real move for
We know him
perhaps
now.
people like him though is that if he does want to get a gal and he treats her like a queen, like there's a lot of women who want to control the men. So I'm not one of those guys, right?
Yeah.
And Jenny loves that about me because she likes the less controllable types.
Yes.
But there's a lot of women who wanted the controllable types. I've dated many of them.
Yeah.
And so they have told me this. And they're guys they're okay. But like they're great because they are just whatever they need.
Yeah.
And so if this guy just has to be that, and he'll get any one of those gals.
Yeah.
There's plenty of women looking for that guy.
Yeah, you got to shift what you're looking for out of Dallas, but the pool is fine. It's not the pool. All right, the next one. This is from Pamela. Oh, here we go. I don't think New York has ever made it to the top of your list, but maybe this is the year. Everything and everyone good about New York left town years ago, and this city now is just a bunch of psychopaths, weird accents, serial cheaters, pathological liars, career criminals, Wall Street phonies, fake artists, con men, and oh yeah, narcissists.
She's still right. But
The writers are miserable. The summers and the winners are miserable. The summer's insufferable. I haven't seen a smile or the sun in 6 weeks. I'm here for a job because I'm clinging to a version of this city that only exists in the movies. Turn on the house lights and take me away. Okay, I'm a New Yorker. You're right,
well written.
well written. Good argument for that. I'm not saying that's not the case. New York has always been on the list of the 10 worst. I will grant you that. But it's never quite gotten to the top because there are still so many possibilities in New York that whatever, and again, people arrive there by the thousands every single day. The advantages that New York used to have it was like, oh my God, I can experience 65 different cultures within 4. You can get that in Minneapolis. You can get that in a lot of cities. The only thing New York still has is you can get an omelet at 3 a.m., but you can probably get that in a lot of cities too. All of the oh my God, New York's like no other place. A lot of places are like New York now. And I say that as a New Yorker, but I also left. There is people do not have it's hard, not too many people in New York get married in their 20s. So when you get down to it in your 30s and you're really sort of hitting the accelerator on getting this done, it is tough to get the men to sort of care that you're 35 and you want to lock this down. That makes it a challenge.
They got to be 10 years older probably too.
Yeah, I think you want to date older. A lot of the women say I shouldn't have to date an old man, and they're talking about like 44 is like an old man, and do that. But yeah, New York is dirty. New York is angry. New York. I saw a video of a rat crawling on somebody on the subway the other day who was falling asleep. Like, New York is in a really bad place. We have done more Great Love Debate shows in New York than anywhere. It's not good. And where people are not happy, that is the biggest challenge to dating. Have you been in New York?
I have. I think
We lived there for a month this year.
We did, but at the same time, everybody was more friendly than I was expecting. I mean, not
Well,
as
you're from
friendly
Minnesota
as
with a
Scottsdale.
fake Minnesota nice.
There is that.
And you're also blonde. That is a foreign species. There's not that many in New York. Do you know that? There's just not.
Yeah, she stands
It's
out.
exotic.
And we took the subway every day. You stood out a lot.
Oh, that is when I noticed.
It's like going to Japan. Yeah. New York did not get through COVID well.
No.
It did. The city is abandoned and broken down. The infrastructure's bad. I've gone on and on about the problems with New York a lot. So I agree with her. I'm still never going to put it at the top of the list. It's always in the worst 5, and I think it always will be. It's a hard life in New York. 2 things about Los Angeles and New York. Almost nobody moves away from either of those places and then goes back.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're Jerry Seinfeld and he leads a different life. Almost nobody leaves New York and then moves back because the quality of life does get easier. And it's like, oh, and I can have a sense of normalcy and every day is not such a struggle. And, you know, I hang out with a lot of ex-New Yorkers and nobody's like, oh shit, maybe next year we're going to move back to the city. It just doesn't happen. This sort of what she talked about, the movie version, the Sex and the City version of, oh my God, we're going to go to a fancy restaurant and have a cool apartment. Like, no, you're dating, you're trying to drag somebody back to your studio apartment. Like, it just sucks. And then you got to take the dog out and you got to walk 6 flights of stairs. It sucks. It's not a good place to date. I don't think it'll ever be one, because there are some worse ones, but I agree with you, Pamela.
And I love New York. And we were there a month this year. And all of the best women we know from Minnesota go to New York. I mean, like, I know 3 gorgeous blondes who moved to New York this year.
Because they're like, New York,
Exactly.
it's awesome, me, I'm here. And then 5 years later, they're moving to Atlanta.
Yeah. Historically, over the last decade of data I've collected, half of them get broken, though. And then it's kind of sad. And then the other half have like, they don't die.
All right. I'm here with Rick and Jenny, Flow Event Group, if you want to check them out. We got to take a quick break because we got to pay for cities like New York. And we will be back with the listeners list of the 10 worst cities in America in which to find love right after this. And we are back. Okay, the next one is from another lady. This is from Gina. I'm not sure you have ever done a live show in Orlando, but you should come here if you want to see a big slice of suck. Nobody wants to really be here. Everyone is waiting to move somewhere better. Tampa, Atlanta, Charlotte, wherever. You are either here because you started a family, got divorced, and custody requires it, or your job sent you here. That's a tough pool to date. Everyone lives an hour from everyone else, and every little slice of this Mickey Land hellscape is filled with some younger whore who will do everything you will do except cheaper and faster.
I love this. I completely agree. I think Orlando could win.
Yeah,
Orlando's
Orlando
bad.
does suck. I hate to say, of all of the cities we have been to, we've been to 127 cities in 12 countries. We have never done a show in Orlando, which should mean it suck right off the bat. Yeah, Orlando's a place where there's no there. You're like, is this Orlando? Is this like, you see signs for Universal Studios and SeaWorld, and then you're like Church Street Station downtown. I'm like, where do the people live? I don't understand where I'm supposed to be. I get it, and a lot of people move. I mean, it's boiling fucking hot.
Yep.
It's nowhere near the beach, and it's like, 50 miles from Cocoa Beach. You're not going there.
About 8 years ago, I had to shoot there, I was single for the entire month. So my best option was the online pool, and I couldn't even find anybody I thought was interesting. I mean, like, there's a couple cuties and they worked for Disney, but like, other than that, I was like, wow, this is not going to be a good long-term solution.
Yeah, if you're dating Snow White at Disney World, she probably looks better in the Snow White costume, and she's probably going to take it off.
Exactly.
Everyone will,
but you can go through those fantasies if that's your
some
thing.
younger whore who will do everything you will do except cheaper and faster. Now, I'm not going to say that I think this because I'm not that schooled on Orlando. I've heard that a lot from the women in Orlando, that if you're a dude with a reasonable face and a pretty good job, there's a lineup. There's a sense of desperation in the air of the women there that makes it hard for regular relationship patterns to take place.
I mean, it makes sense. You're in a vacation hotspot with really just children and sad parents.
That's true. Sad parents. The fact that almost everything in Disney World now offers alcohol means that this is a real slog for the parents. Yeah, I agree with that. I have heard this a lot. Orlando has never made any of our lists, probably because I didn't feel familiar enough with it, but I have spent quite a bit of time in Florida recently. And I think you might be right, Gina. An excellent use of Mickey Land hellscape to describe Orlando, Florida. I mean, it was literally it's riddled with mosquitoes. It's an old orange grove. It's an hour away from a lot of places you'd want to go to. Those people who live in those places are not going to Orlando. No. So good one. All right. Next one. This is from Powell. Is that your first name, Powell, or your last name, Powell? It's just from Powell. Your list needs to include Raleigh, North Carolina. This place is filled with girls from Rochester and Buffalo who are trying on Southern accents to see if that makes them more attractive. Hint, it doesn't. And divorcees trying to get back at their husbands by dating the youngest possible bartender they can get their hands on. I am 38, ready to settle down, and every girl I take out seems hung up on their ex or secretly in love with their high school boyfriend who still lives with their parents. I think I have a lot to offer. Unfortunately, this city does not.
Yep.
If you have a choice between your major North Carolina cities for dating, I think you're going to choose Charlotte. We've done one show in Raleigh. Raleigh is another place. The whole triangle of Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, whatever. If you're in college there, it's awesome. If you're 38 there, it's rough.
See, and unlike Minnesota, they do have their cliques that they might really be marrying from college. So that group kind of goes, and then it thins out really quickly. Don't even have half the opportunity you have in Dallas and New York and LA. It's not even close.
Now, the southern cities, I've made this comment before, and people get mad that I say it, but nobody ever says it's not true. If you get in the South still in 2023 to this day,
yep.
If you get to 30, get married and divorced before 30, the marriage failed. If you get to 30 and you never got married, you failed, which means that the pressure to get married, the familial, societal, friends pressure in the South still exists. And the guys know that. Mm-hmm. So if you're dating some girl who's 28, your level of douchebaggery can go through the roof. She's probably not dumping you because she doesn't want to go back out there at 31 because people are like, oh, what's wrong with her, this old maid? That's a real thing still in Raleigh. And so the guys can really act like assholes, which makes it really tough. I'm assuming Powell is a dude, but if you're competing with that and knowing that that guy's an asshole and that he still has that pretty girl for a girlfriend, however, that can get extremely frustrating.
I have advice for him as well. Because, in general, the whole world is kind of like, they do have the philosophy of you can lock people up, and like that's a move that men will do with the hottest women.
Yeah,
it really annoyed me when I was 21 to 25 because I'm watching the hot girls just gone. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this guy sucks. But I think but the thing is, in the South, they are definitely looking to get married between 21 and 26. So like his market, he's 38. His market's got to be 22 to 26.
Or he's getting what he's complaining about. He's getting the divorcee who's still mad at her husband and she wants to go younger too. Yeah, he's really in no man's
He has to find the mature girl who is over the ex and is ready for that.
Did you grow up? You grew up in Minneapolis?
Yep.
Something like 72% of America lives within 10 miles of where they grew up.
That's home base for us, I should say.
Yeah. I know. That's frightening for me. People should move.
I agree.
And I grew up in a nice place. I moved. Get out, everybody. Move. So if it doesn't sound like you're from there, Powell, and you don't like the girls from Rochester and Buffalo trying on Southern accents. See, I would like that. I would like a Northeast girl trying to do a Southern accent. I think that's kind of role play.
She's trying to find herself.
Cosplay. Yeah. That's what it is.
You're all growing.
Y'all. Yeah. Okay. There's a lot worse accents you could try out too.
Yeah.
You don't see Southern girls trying to do Boston accents.
Yes,
Long
of course.
Island accents. Not good.
I'm always skeptical of people who are I really want to see a positive turn at the end. Or they really do sound like they're coming from a real negative
I know.
space.
All these places, you're very specific on these, but I can see both sides of this, so I'm kind of I like this. Okay, the next one is from Trish. You need to take a close look at Cincinnati, or better yet, don't. They say it's either the northernmost southern city or the southernmost northern city, but either way, there's nothing worth doing and no one worth dating here. Looking for fun? Oh, let's cross state lines into Kentucky or road trip it to Columbus. This is supposed to be enticing or romantic. Split a bowl of Skyline chili, which is essentially spaghetti water. There's no culture, no cuisine, no prospects, no hope. I would consider just being a lesbian except for one thing. The girls here are hideous who think the 90s are still high fashion. I moved here from Indianapolis, which equally sucks, so what do I know? Just dump me in the Ohio River and be done with it.
And she's right.
She's right.
My best friend lived there for 2 years right out of college.
Yeah.
And so I visited all the time. And I'll put it this way. He was ready. He was excited to get back to Minnesota. And like everyone's married between 21 and 25. They openly joke about it. Yeah. They got married to their college person. And so that group's tough.
It's got like a cute downtown, but the pool in Cincinnati, no offense, anybody in Cincinnati.
Definitely got some great times.
The people in Columbus, which also sucks. Columbus, Ohio sucks. They think they're better than Cleveland. Cleveland probably is better than Cincinnati. Yeah, Cincinnati, good time. Like, let's go to a casino in Kentucky or wherever, Indiana. I don't know. It's not good. And I agree with you. That's a little bit specific. I don't know if you're from. She doesn't say. She needs to move. I mean, I think there's riverboat gambling there in Cincinnati. Have you been to Cincinnati?
Although my girlfriend's had a lot of success in Cleveland.
Yeah, I like Cleveland.
Sure. Yeah. So maybe that's
Cleveland's good too, but it's not the best looking pool you're going to find. No offense. There's harsh winters. Harsh winters take a toll.
Yeah, Cincinnati sounds more like the place to settle down, not to find someone.
Yeah, right. And if you say it's just cross border Kentucky, northern Kentucky kind of sucks, but like Lexington, Louisville, those are legitimately fun places. You need to go deeper into your Kentucky, Trish. You need to go Bourbon Trail.
Yeah.
You need to get in there.
That's why we have this van. We're going to hit all that in Kentucky.
Yeah, you
one
hit
day.
it. There's a lot of fun in Kentucky,
That's
but
late March.
that area of northern Kentucky that is really just Ohio adjacent, it does suck. So sorry, Cincinnati. Sorry, Trish. All right, the next one. This is from Michael. Miami has made your list before, but I have to say it has to be the worst as far as actual dating. Good-looking women, no doubt, and no chance. They aren't dating a dude unless he has a yacht, a jet, or a contract with the Dolphins. Fake hair, fake nails, fake boobs, fake personality, and even fake accents. Did you see on the news how Alec Baldwin's wife pretends to be a Latina? I went out with a girl named Molly Kearney a few weeks ago, and she put on the full Sofia Vergara impression. I like this accent thing. I have no idea why. Nothing is real. Nothing is deep. Nothing makes sense. It's just a blur of noise and no substance. I moved here from New Hampshire because I hate the cold, but I'm not sure I didn't feel better about life there. At least I could get a date and watch the Red Sox.
He's not wrong.
Yeah,
He's not wrong.
No.
Miami is
yeah.
fun and silly, but if you are trying to find the love of your life, that is not the spot.
I agree.
It
That's
is
tough.
rough. Miami is.
it is where all those pretty fake girls go a lot, and they love it. I mean, that's where
Miami's where you go on vacation. It's not where you go to be happy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's not. Have you been to Miami? You have.
I have. And it is definitely just the Instagram model, the just getting on to the next. I mean, really, I can't say anything he hasn't already said.
Right. Everything you said, I agree with you, Michael. And I think Miami has gotten as high as number 2 on our list of the worst. It's definitely a contender. All of South Florida really, really is rough. It really is superficial and money, and they like it that way. Like Miami wants it that way. Or if you don't want it that way, you're 75 years old.
Again, he needs to go after specific networks. He needs to go to schools. He needs teachers. He needs nurses. He needs hospital people. He needs like the down to earth people who
He needs
like
down to earth
People, you're right. There's an infrastructure to all of these major cities.
You got to
where
be in the
efficient.
infrastructure, not in the posers.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a Starbucks where all the nurses go from
Exactly.
Miami General Hospital.
There's got to be a volleyball team.
There's got to be a volleyball team. There's got to be activities. Yeah, I think, Michael, if you're just like peering through the glass of the nightclub and saying like
Don't
they
go
don't
there.
like me, just don't go there. You're
Yeah.
going to have to go where quote unquote regular people go. Every city in America.
If he doesn't have a yacht, do the
all
thing
it takes
that
is one.
is a non-yacht thing and find who's there.
Yeah, if you don't have a boat it's socially in Florida, you are kind of fucked.
He
as
should have a
dude.
pool though. He's in Miami, right?
Find a friend with a boat, Michael. Just be the guy with the boat. Yeah, it is hard. I'm not gonna tell you what to do or tell you what to go to. But there is some eye candy, but you don't want to date eye candy.
Plus, he can bring people. He's in Miami. So the guys I know had amazing success when they lived in New York or on an island because people
Bring 'em
everyone
in.
wants to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Find people. Put yourself out there.
The
in a network.
trick is getting them to stay.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
people
I mean,
have jobs and lives and
yeah.
things.
And he might have a horrible personality or really big ego issues.
Yeah, I know, Michael. I feel for you. Yeah, are you familiar with this Alec Baldwin's wife thing?
No, not really.
She's like
That's new to me.
she's just like a waspy prep school girl from like suburban Boston, but
Interesting.
she has a full lot. She pretends she's like Guatemalan.
So I will say what is fun, and I
It's
think
strange. Yeah.
for sure even Michael should adapt. But this was pre-social media, and I studied abroad a lot. So I was in London and Spain, and so when I would get a little drunk, if you will, I would have an accent. It would instantaneously be European. It'd be a sloppy, weird European, and it'd be hard to. But I have people who I would meet who thought I was European.
Yeah.
and they did tend to like me more. I'm not gonna lie. These
right.
gals, yeah. I have no idea. And very few times did they know I
Halloween's
wasn't.
all about pretending you're, who you really want to be, and so there's. I don't mind if putting.
I love that this is a new trend that I also did not know was
I
happening.
didn't know. Is this a thing? This is what all the girls do.
I have an accent for the rest of the podcast.
I mean, I understand they're doing fake body parts, which I'm also fine with. But if you're getting into like fake personality, a lot of times the fake personality is better than the real personality,
I agree. That's for
and
sure.
even the accent.
I mean, if they can lie to themselves enough to
Yeah.
believe it and really hold on to it, then why
You got to
not?
go full time.
We love when people try to develop personalities. I love this.
Yeah,
People
a lot of
should
people's
be
regular
interesting.
personality is boring. It's sort of like if you karaoke and you do not sing well, you have to almost sing in an impression of what you're doing and not use your real voice, and you'll be a lot better at it. You know,
Oh yeah.
dating
Get the
too.
crowd involved instead.
That's
Make
right.
it about someone other than yourself.
Crowd play. All right, last one here. This is from. I'll get it. This is from Chaz. So is Chaz a dude? Chaz could be a dude. I know I am preaching to the choir, but let me just yell a little louder at the choir so it's crystal clear. San Francisco is the worst city in America for a whole lot of things, but dating is absolutely rock bottom. Who do these women think they are? Do they care about men? Do they care about being happy? Do they care about their appearance? Do they care about anything? A bunch of cold, dead-hearted, bitchy, stuck-up, entitled, average-looking women, don't you dare call them girls or even ladies here, who don't know what they even want out of life except for the fact that they don't want you or me. And unless you make a ton of money, you are stuck living in an absolute dump that even if you could find a girl to come home with you, she would hate your home anyway. And even if you could do that, she would probably be mad that you called her a girl. End of rant, Chaz.
Yeah, Chaz is onto something too.
Chaz is, and I will agree with you. San Francisco is the worst. I agree.
And they have the most single, I think. They have a lot of single
The women,
people.
I've said this before, the men there think the women think they're too good for them, and the women there think we are too good for you.
Yeah.
It is again, if you're bothered by me ranting against uber feminism, this probably isn't the show for you. They have dialed up the independent woman feminist streak to a level that beyond what even dogs can hear. It is untenable in 2023. Maybe.
And it's an expensive city.
It is so expensive.
Yeah.
It is. San Francisco now is just like a couple of 4 square block pockets that are really nice where you have to have a shitload of money. And the rest of it is just disgusting.
Yeah.
So although it's pretty and you can look at the pretty part, I mean, it looks beautiful from Alcatraz, but you don't want to live there, you know? It is really, really rough. The dating culture there has been terrible for a long, long time. Chaz is right. I can see your frustration.
Chaz, you got to look in Napa, man, Sonoma, all those. That's where the good gals have gone.
You're going to have to get in your car, even Sacramento. You're going to have to drive up the way. There's plenty of people from San Francisco who moved up to Napa. Everybody's happy in Napa.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You want to go where the happy people are.
Yeah.
People don't seem happy in San Francisco. It's easy to date a smile.
He affords to live in San Francisco? Oh, yeah. I mean, you're already in a Mecca. You got to bring in. You just go slightly outside.
Yeah. I mean, we run into this to San Jose, too. The guys are like, I make a lot of money. It doesn't really improve my quality of life, and it's not enough money for the women because they also make a lot of money. So in order to be, they can't impress them with money. They can't impress them with anything else. Even if you have a good personality, there's not a lot of laughs in San Francisco.
I also don't think money for a guy playing the money game is generally a bad move.
It is a bad move.
It doesn't yield the long-term happiness.
Yeah, you don't have to be super rich. And if you are, she only wants you for the money, and that's not good either.
And that's a bad relationship. Those are the worst.
You need to be somewhere between complete starving artist and tech billionaire.
Jenny, you have lots of thoughts on the problem with men and the boys.
Oh God, where do I even start? I think the issue is just the idea that, I don't know, women don't want to baby or like mother a man when they're dating it.
Right.
So it's like going back to the idea of step up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to deal with the whining. I don't want to deal with the idea of, I have to tell you what you're eating for dinner this evening. Like, just figure it out and let me do it with you. Right. Or let me do my thing, and then we just kind of figure it out.
And we have a lot of
even on this list here. No offense to anybody, I appreciate you listening, but the girls seem a little angry. The guys seem like whiny babies.
Yes.
Step it up, guys.
And I get the point.
They're lucky
all the
any
guys,
of any of them talk to us. We're very lucky. They don't need us in any way. They're very lucky about it. So if you're bitching like, oh, the girls are too pretty and they won't talk to me, oh well.
Don't talk to those girls. Easy.
Yeah, go find somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm impressed with all the wordsmithing, but the only thing every time in my mind, I'm like, who hurt you?
Yeah, I know. You all seem a little hurt, and everybody is a little hurt, so you're not alone in that. If it's so bad, don't spend 10 years in the same place. Change of scenery is always your best friend when it comes to dating. And these are all, the caveat we gave you guys when we said to send these in is the city had to be big enough that there was an international airport. Now, I was shocked at some of the cities that have international airport because you guys sent in some really small fucking cities in the Dakotas. Like, Cheyenne is the worst. I'm like, maybe it is. I don't know. There are opportunities everywhere outside of your door, and Rick had some good advice. Like, you're gonna have to. Every city has a pool of the people that you are looking for. Your job is to find that pool instead of casting this net on this giant pool that probably isn't for you.
Yep, very true.
Right. All right. Is there a city that came to mind that you're like, I bet this is on the list, or somebody sent this in that you were thinking was going to make this?
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit sucks.
Also big on single people. San Francisco and Detroit were high.
Yeah, Detroit. The problem with a city like Detroit, just like the problem with Cleveland's gotten a little better because of the industry. Not that many people are moving to Detroit.
No.
And so the pool doesn't turn over a lot. Like you are stuck with who you're dating, you know. So the bigger cities are the cities that are, you know, booming. City like Raleigh has a lot of people moving to Raleigh from all over the place. So that should mean like every day somebody could get off the plane at RDU and that's the one you're looking for. Yep. So you should still maintain some hope in all of these cities except San Francisco because nobody's moving there because it's too expensive. They're leaving.
Social media and the internet's made the world big. And so now we think bigger, even though we might be in the really small town. Yeah. And then we're not going out. And plus, we have to normalize people. If you want to meet people, you have to go out and talk to people and engage people in interesting ways.
Yeah.
And then the women have to be people who are approachable in that situation. There's a lot of combos of setups that need to occur. Yeah. Most of it needs to have people putting themselves out there.
Scottsdale is lovely, but it didn't make the list. But this is a brutal place to date because it is ground zero Cougarville here, which makes it really hard for
our friends here met him on the League,
35.
Which I guess is the expensive social media, the League.
Yeah,
and like two of them met him there.
It's very fun and it's very beautiful, but trying to get in the dating pool here, it is rough. The one, just sort of a sidebar, the suckiest places out there still are probably Denver, Houston, Seattle. I've gone on ad infinitum, go back to last year's show and the year before and the year before, and Philadelphia. Also sucks, but this is a good bunch. I understand the argument for a place like Chicago or Nashville or whatever. You might want to go there and have fun, but to try and really get into a dating relationship might be hard.
Yeah. Actually, Nashville people tend to have a lot more success. Denver's still uniquely hard, but it's such a great city. So many people, Minnesotans move there all the time. And yet, they date a lot. But get a Minnesotan
out of Minnesota where they're not in their clique and the Minnesota nice thing doesn't happen. Yeah, you want to lure a Minnesota girl.
Oh, actually, 100%. So Midwestern people are looking to settle down a lot more in relationships.
Yeah, there you go.
You see it all the time.
All right, you have been on this podcast twice before. You, young lady, have not been on this podcast before. We play something called Worst Date or First Date. So you have to go back to your single days many moons ago, and you have to either give us either the worst date you ever went on.
She has fun ones.
Or the absolute best first date you ever went on, your choice.
Worst comes to mind. It's that classic story of you don't even think that you're going to be going on a date, and all of a sudden you find yourself on a date, and here they are. You're walking through a park. We got a quick dinner. Walked through a park. He brings me back to his parents' house. Introduces me to his mom.
Oh.
Introduces me to his dad. Is dropping me off and saying, like, literally by the time of that 15-minute car ride to drop me off, he had listed out how many kids we were going to have, what the name of our children was going to be, when we were going to get married.
What were you wearing? Oh my God. Wow, you don't know your own strength. So how do you get out of that?
That's happened a few times.
Do you say anything, or you're like, oh, that's cool? Or you're like, wait, whoa, like, what do you do?
Oh, I am non-confrontational unless I absolutely have to be, which then it's never when it's for myself. So it was just basically get out of the car as fast as possible and hope he forgets my address.
Where did you meet this young man?
Playing Ultimate Frisbee.
There you go. It's the way it always happens. Yeah.
Love in the field.
But obviously a great way to meet a hot girl.
Yeah, I know, but don't.
It didn't close
go
well.
that quick. Like, this sounds like an episode of like they do that on The Bachelor, like third date, meet the family. Yep. Like you don't even have this person's phone number.
No.
If you're on The Bachelor, you don't have their phone number.
That's crazy. Straight to the parents too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And unless the parents were like part of our close.
He might have thought the move was like, my family's so awesome that she will be impressed with him. Were they so awesome?
Oh, his family was on the same train.
Oh.
Like somehow.
Was it a big mansion?
No.
Oh.
Somehow from like our slight interactions over the last couple months, just on a Wednesday afternoon, they all thought that I was already a part of the family. But it was news to me. I mean, they're lovely.
Okay.
But I wasn't ready to be like framed on the wall yet.
Yeah. No, that's not good.
No. You want to go slower with framing? I don't even have a framing.
Can I ask where you proposed?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We were actually in New York, rainy day. We had 3 days off in the middle in December. And we had met on 12/17. Okay. And so we had like 16 to 19 off between a crazy wedding like schedule. And I'm like, we're going to New York, and she loves Hamilton. So I had that as a surprise to take her to Hamilton because she's never been. She loved the music. And we did a long Christmas tour. Like we literally walked from Lower East Side all the way on a rainy, cold day, stopped at a bunch of different Christmas bars, and then proposed walking through Central Park before eating at Tavern on the Green.
You did not throw away your shot.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Good job. All right, plug the Flow World and where people can find you.
Oh, yeah. Well, our company's just Flow Event Group. We do photo, video, DJ production, a lot of weddings, corporate, and branding.
Yeah, you can find us at floweventgroup.com.
You made a comment yesterday that you do way too many weddings where you feel like she or he does not, this is not the love of their life. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes.
Oh, I have all the philosophies on relationships now, I feel like. I mean, we've done 1,000 weddings. Who can understand the relationship better?
You know what you should do? Start a podcast.
If you're in it, I will definitely do it. As long as you make a monthly stop by.
Okay. As far as us, as always, like, share, follow. Please review this podcast. Your reviews mean a lot in the podcasting ecosystem. The 10th season of the live World Tour kicks off February 16th in Boca Raton, Florida, which is South Florida, which is a very sucky place today, but a very good place to do our show. Tickets are on sale for that, bocablackbox.com or greatlovedebate.com. Shoot us an email, greatlovedebate@gmail.com. If you disagree, agree, or if you really think we egregiously left out a city on this, and we'll get back to you because, as always, at the Great Love Debate, we never stop making love. See you next time.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.